Welcome to our weekly maritime vlog. I'm Corey Ransom with International Maritime Security Associates. This week, we are talking weather with one of the experts from Navimeteo. We've had the opportunity over the last few months to have and discuss topics about weather. This week, we're actually going to bring in a professional to talk a little bit about this crazy hurricane season that we've had in the Atlantic and the Pacific regions, along with how climate change is affecting this and some other topics. Weather is one of my favorite topics, but it's also one of the leading causes with issues, accidents, and deaths to mariners at sea. So it's one of those topics that's important for us to pay attention to and also to cover. So this week on the blog, we invited Tim Sykes, who's the Director of Marine Operations for Navimeteo, which is one of our partner companies based out of Europe. So Tim, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule this week to join us on the vlog. We've talked about weather on this vlog in the past in a number of different ways and shapes. It's one of the topics that has a huge impact, as you know, on the maritime industry, an impact on boaters, whether you're a cargo line, a cruise line, a large yacht, a sailing vessel, a cruising vessel. Weather can have a huge impact on what you decide to do or decide not to do. So we thought it would be a great idea to bring on Tim from our partner company, Navimeteo. And just to have a little bit of a chat today about weather, and then also to learn a little bit more about what you guys do. So I'm going to jump into this right away and talk about what's on everybody's mind, especially in the Atlantic region of the world, is the hurricane season. We are coming close to hopefully the end of the hurricane season because we're just about out of hurricane names. We've exhausted almost everyone on the list. Earlier this week, we had a major hurricane that impacted Central America, right on Nicaragua, basically. And it's just been a crazy hurricane season, Tim. You want to just kind of talk a little bit about that and some of the things you guys are seeing from a meteorological standpoint?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Yeah, this week we've had our Hurricane Iota, Category 5 hurricane. It's hit Central America, which is awful, really, considering the previous week we had Hurricane Eta. That hit a similar area. We've had nearly 200 deaths, loss of life, many more people missing, and huge impacts on those rural communities and farmers working in those areas. And so the effect is doubled, and there's no time to turn around. So it's a disaster for that Central America region. We're keeping an eye on all these depressions that are forming all the time for both for our customers, but also just to keep an eye on what's going on around the world. And Hurricane Iota was actually his 30th named storm this year. It's a record-breaking year.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but to me, that's absolutely incredible that we've exhausted the normal list of named storms. Now we're into the backup, which is the Greek alphabet. I mean, hopefully the season ends, because I don't think we have but a couple more names that we can, that we can go through. This is amazing. I don't think we've ever had a hurricane season like this in recent history.
It's an intense season. I don't think it's going to end now. The official end of the season is the 30th of November. I think we could probably expect to see a few more events before the end of the year. So 30 named storms. It's the 13th hurricane of the year. So it's a record-breaking year. And there's been loads of discussion recently about why it's a record-breaking year. And lots of people are obviously those strong links to climate change. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the links to climate change and where the science is currently at now. So we often see stories in the media. The president of Guatemala recently blamed climate change for the increasing intensity and frequency of hurricanes. And I just want to take a minute to touch on that. So in the general field of research on hurricane activity, it's a very active and live discussion. So to start with, hurricanes are formed, driven and sustained by surface sea temperatures, so warm water. And it's well known that climate change is driving our oceans to be warmer. That's a fact. And so warmer water basically is fuel. So heat is energy. Warmer water means that these hurricanes are therefore they've got more fuel to move, more fuel to have stronger winds. And so they're more intense and they're lasting longer. Mm-hmm. So with these stronger storms, and because they're lasting longer, that's why they appear to be more frequent. And so in the past, we're always getting these formations of depressions offshore, but without the fuel, they're not sustaining and they're dying out. So we're seeing an increase in frequency, not because there's more depressions being formed, but because these depressions are being sustained for longer and they're making landfall. And the other important thing to note about the effects of these warmer oceans is that these storms are not decaying as fast. Mm-hmm. So when they make landfall, they're causing more damage. And some researchers in Japan have estimated that actually they're lasting twice as long once they hit the shore. So that, in short, is the impact of climate change. And in very simple terms, climate change means warmer water, which means the storms have more energy to live, to sustain, and to develop.
That's what we saw with Ida. It started almost in the same place as the hurricane that hit Central America, moved up basically across Cuba, made a right turn and came over us here in Florida, and then went back out into the Gulf. It's really interesting when you see that, and it's just been more prevalent, I think, over the last few years, is that you're seeing hurricanes that are going over land masses that are big mountainous land masses, which would normally tear the storm apart, that they're staying together as they go over these land masses. I mean, Cuba is very mountainous, and you'd think that, you know, a tropical depression would get torn up, but, you know, we didn't see that. And the interesting thing when we start to talk about coastal impacts is, so I went to the beach this weekend in Fort Lauderdale. We had Hurricane Ida, and then we had very strong winds and waves after that. I looked in a couple of areas of the beach, there's 5 or 6 feet of erosion that's happened just in the winds and the storm over the past week and a half here. So it's incredible to see in such a short amount of time the power that these storms are producing. We actually had rain bands coming through here for multiple days as it went basically just south of us and then turned and went up the kind of the west coast of Florida. We were seeing rain bands and wind from that for 3 or 4 days. So it was just in effect here, and we didn't even take a direct hit. So, you know, when you look at the coastal impacts from these storms, it's not just the area where the eye hits, its impact on all of that. And that also affects the maritime industry, because now you look at port and marina infrastructure, you know, and in a lot of countries don't have the ability to rebuild and get this infrastructure back operational quickly. So it has a huge impact on the maritime industry. And it's really interesting this particular season to see that, and to see that the water temperatures aren't cooling down and changing as quickly as they have been, you know, in previous years.
Yeah. And in terms of Navimeteo and what we do in support of this kind of work is we provide forecasting services to vessels all over the world, and many of those vessels are based on the east coast of the US, particularly the cruise ships that we support, and generally cruise ships and most vessels actually have the ability to outrun these depressions. Mm-hmm. So typically these storms only travel at 8 to 10 knots. So providing you can steam at 10 knots, you can normally outrun it. And if you can't outrun it, there's a thing called the 1-2-3 rule that the National Weather Services will use, and that basically gives you that cone that you see when you look at the hurricane charts. Every day you see a circle, and that circle increases by 100 nautical miles every day. So on day 3, we've in theory got a circle that's 300 nautical miles big. And so if we're looking at a hurricane chart and we're stuck in the middle of that third cone, providing we can travel at 10 knots, we can do 300 nautical miles in 30 hours, we can get out of the way of that cone before that 72-hour window hits. So that's why we don't often see incidents at sea in respect to hurricanes, in that most vessels have the ability to move out of the way. Where we do see problems, particularly in the commercial industry, is on the shore, like you said. And if I go back to the cruise industry, there's a lot of planning that needs to go into where they're going to put their vessels, how are they going to get the crew off, how are they going to get the guests off, and there's flight planning and itineraries to be changing. So for them to have that little bit of extra insight and security, which you could get with a professional service, that's worth the money, because they will save huge amounts of money by making good decisions sooner.
Right. Well, that's one of the things we recommend to our clients all the time. Obviously, you guys are one of our partners through the ARMS platform when it comes to weather and our ability to connect our clients to you guys for that. But that's one thing when I talk to people is, hey, the information that we have is great, but you need to work with a weather forecasting company, because even though there's that forecast cone, I've seen that change rapidly. And that was one of the reasons why we built the ARMS platform, was because of the sinking of the cargo vessel El Faro that was just going from Jacksonville to San Juan, and they got into Hurricane Joaquin, and in less than 18 hours this went from basically a tropical storm to a Category 4 and switched the forecast position very rapidly, and they ended up right in the middle of this thing. So the weather piece to us is important. And what you guys do is incredible. I mean, I've been able to see the weather forecasting, the products, the charts, and some of the really cool things that you guys are doing. And there's ocean weather is very different, as you know, from the land side. So it takes a different type of expertise to be able to bring that together, because you look as there's just not the number of reporting stations when it comes to the, the ocean side versus the land side. So there's a lot that goes into that. And one of the projects, working on with you guys is to be able to hopefully connect through our clients some of that weather data back to you and back to other meteorological organizations, so that as we have ships that are, at sea, we can take some basic temperature, which getting that data really makes a difference in the forecasting models.
And one thing I'll do, hopefully in the links under your video, is I'll put a link to an article that I wrote last year, which gives a really good case study on the difficulties that forecasters have when it comes to looking at extreme weather events. And this example is a Hurricane Dorian. It was a well-documented hurricane. The forecasters for about 2 or 3 days had huge issues forecasting the route, and that was due to some disturbances at a mid-level in the atmosphere, and they couldn't forecast the kind of shear effects of that mid-level. So the 2 or 3 different models were projecting that this Hurricane Dorian would go in completely different ways. And on the link, hopefully we'll get a link to the article, and there's some really clear examples of the difficulties when it comes to looking at different models. And that's something that a forecaster, an expert forecaster would look at every day, is the outputs of different models to try and capture the different risk associated with these events.
Well, one of the things that we'll do, Tim, is with that article, we'll also put the links to your company down there as well. So if people have questions or would like to reach out to you guys for help when it comes to marine forecasting, I know you guys have a bunch of cool different products and really specialize in the marine industry when it comes to weather forecasting. So we'll have all of that down below, and definitely interested to read your article. Is there anything else that you wanted to throw out about weather?
No, just great to be in talk to you, Corey. Navimeteo, we have a 24/7 forecaster operation. We support cruise ships, super yachts, commercial vessels, ports all over the world, and our main belief is in the value of the human. So we have technical solutions, but Navimeteo very much pride ourselves on the impact that an expert, a fully trained meteorologist can have on that forecasting process, and we don't think that will ever go away. Right. So get in touch with us. We're very happy to talk to you. We're a really friendly bunch of people. So,
and I can testify to that. These guys are great. I love talking to the folks at Navimeteo. So, and they're extremely helpful. Same premise that we believe here at IMSA is the human factor is a big factor when it comes to, you know, helping people at sea. So we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. I know this is a topic we talk about all the time. So yeah, I know we're going to have you back. This won't be the first time that you guys will be seeing Tim, or maybe even other people from Navimeteo on the vlog. So thanks for taking the time today, Tim.
Thanks, Corey.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate all the viewers that we have on this channel. Make sure you hit that like button for all the videos you like. Subscribe to this channel so you get notified when we post new videos. Also, connect to us through our social media, detailed in the banner above and also in the comments section below. If you have any questions when it comes to maritime security, maritime risk management, or maritime regulatory compliance, don't hesitate to reach out to the experts here at IMSA, because we're always happy to steer you in the right direction.